Okay, so when we look at our output here, really, we're just getting true or false, really, as to whether it was prime or not. It's not particularly clear. Let's just go back to one of our earlier examples. I'll have to scroll loads up here. Just going to be quicker to rerun it and get some output to look at. So I'm just going to go up to 10. Okay, so we're just getting the words true or false here, so that's not particularly clear, and I seem to have missed my headings off. I don't know what happened to those. No, I should be printing prime number and factorial. I don't know quite what happened then. Let's just get out of that. Just rerun the program. Something weird happened there. So please enter number 10. There we go. So we've got a heading num prime and factor. They didn't particularly line up very well. And under prime I've got true or false. I don't really want to say true or false. I'm not quite clear. I want to say the fact that it is a prime or just the word prime. And maybe when it's not a prime I want to leave it blank. And it'd be nicer if these numbers at least lined up somewhere under factorial. Maybe these numbers lined up a bit under the number, the heading num. So I need to come into here and think about how this is laid out. So maybe I need a space at the beginning here just to give me a bit of an indentation. Then I want my number yet. And then this is prime. Now this is, remember, this is the return value from the function is prime. So it's returning a boolean which is true or false, which is why it's printing the word true or false here. So I don't really want to print the word true or false. I want to print the word prime if it is a prime. So within here now, really, I need to be thinking about the value of the is prime variable, and depending upon what it is, printing the word prime or maybe printing a space or something. But if I start writing more code in here, hang on a minute, this is in the main function. Look how unwieldy my main function is suddenly starting to become if I start putting lots of extra stuff in here. Remember, we said that wasn't really what you were meant to be doing. Your main function was just your main control, and all the actual work was done off in separate functions. So really, probably what we want to do is shift all our printing work or our calculation work into a function called print table. And I know this wasn't in our original design, but this is typically what happens. Things, as you actually look at coding them, get a bit more heavy, and you think, you know what, that really needs to be divided off into a separate subfunction. So our print table, well, what do we want to do? Well, at the point up here that we know how far we want to go, we've actually got the maximum value converted into an integer. Probably at this point, all our printing work we want to shift off. So what we want to do is create a function where we're going to pass in max value. And where's that going to go? It's actually going to go in here. So we've defined our function, and this is where we call it from. We want to do print table, and we want to pass in max val as our argument. So that needs to be indented there. So all our bit now about doing our printing, all this bit here, just highlight all that. I can take all that off, and I can now put all that within our function. And look what it's done to main straight away. It's made main much clearer. Here's our input. We convert it to an int, and then if it's worked okay, we print the table. Otherwise, we say you didn't enter a number and exit. So the detail of what goes on now has all been shifted into this function called print table. What do we want our print table function to do? Well, we've got the headings. Notice obviously we've got too much indent there because we copied it over. So our for loops need to come back. Extra equals there. So going around our loop here, what we said is when it was a prime value, I wanted to print the word prime. So what I really need to do is I need to do a test. I need to say if is prime, for our particular number in our loop. If it is prime, what do I want to do? Well, I'll say the p string, so this is a prime string I'm going to print, assign it the value prime. So if it is a prime number, p string now will be equal to prime. Otherwise, which obviously means it's not a prime number, p string is going to be equal to, and I'm going to make it exactly the same width, but just put spaces in there. And then obviously now what we actually print down here now, I'm actually going to print this variable p string. Okay, so that hopefully just tidies it up a bit. Here we go. So we're still within our loop, we're still going around for each of our numbers up to the maximum value. We're testing whether it's a prime or not, and we're creating a particular string with prime or spaces in, and then we're printing a space just to shift the number along a bit. P string now, which will have a particular width, and then the factorial. So what I might actually do is just put an extra space there either side, put a couple of extra spaces in there to keep it the same width. Run that program now, and we'll put 10 in as our value to check. Okay, max value is not defined. I've obviously made a bit of an error there. Okay, what I didn't check is where it was. For 2 to max val plus 1 is not defined. Where is it? It's on line 13. Look at my code here. Find where line 13 is. That's line 14. So here max val was not defined. That's strange. I passed it in. Oh, there you go. Typo. Mav val. Max val. So again, that just shows typically what can happen. Quick typo on my part. Completely missed it. Let's run that again. 10. There we go. So we've now got a nice big word saying it's a prime, or if it's blank, it just leaves it. Now obviously the indentation here has gone a bit out because this was 2 characters wide rather than 1. We'd have to start looking at formatted output to try and get that to align properly. But at least we've got the word prime here. I think I might just want to shift that over by 1, just in my heading, to get that a little bit tidier. Okay, so that's your basic program. Reflecting on what we've done, we started thinking about the problem. We decomposed the problem into all the separate subsections. We kind of tackled writing the main and just thought about how the subsections would fit together. Turned the subsections into separate functions. Tackled each function one at a time. Kind of reflected on where we were, realised that our main function, we wanted to print it a bit better. We wanted to print more information. Our main function became a bit unwieldy, so we realised really we ought to carve out a bit of our main function and create yet another function just to deal with that. Because now it's kept our main function nice and tidy. It's given us 3 very clear functions with a very clear task of what they do. One prints a table, one calculates the factorial, and one calculates whether a number is prime or not. And clearly, if we were building up a library of functions, we've now got our own factorial function that we could use. We've obviously got our own isPrime function that we can use and reuse again and again. Okay, hopefully you found that a useful exercise and followed all the steps. Happy coding. Okay, so it looks like we've completed our function, our program overall. What is there left to do? Well, one thing we should have been doing really as we went along, we haven't put any comments in. So quick point on comments, I'm not going to talk you through them all. Obviously, to comment out something, we use a hash. What is good to do is at the start of each function is to actually create a description of the function. So here I always do the fact that it's a function and it's called main, and its arguments, which obviously are things that we pass in, are none, and its returns are none. Okay, so that gives me a basic outline of what the function's called, what's going in, arguments, what's coming out, and then a description and main function for our maths program calculating primes and factorials for a given range. So that gives the basic outline. Obviously I type the text in just because I can edit it, then we can just comment out those lines. And basically by doing this at the start of each function, you get an overview of what that function does. Make that a D. Then I can put some more comments in here. Okay. So basically creating that block there. Expand that out a little bit, that's better. So, for some reason I'm not getting a capital D. I have no idea why I'm not able to get a capital D. My keyboard died or something. That's very weird. I can't get a capital D. No idea why. So, by having this block at the start of each of our functions, what we do is we get a description of that function. And we basically create that as a template. And we do that at the start of each of our blocks of code. So I can just copy that line there. Paste that in there. And again, now I'm going to put a description in here of what the print table function does, say its name, and obviously this will take in a max value, and I'll describe what that does. It's going to be really boring, just listen to me explaining what I'm typing in. So I'll have a look at the code to see how we would comment code as appropriate for this particular example. Commenting is vitally important and is something certainly we should be doing as we go along. Okay, we've created this program quite quickly, so we certainly would make sure we put it in at the end of working on it while it was still all fresh in our mind exactly what everything did. So that concludes the section on writing this program. Thanks, hope it was useful. Bye.